we all share a connected energy, right? I believe as well. And so when you ask me a question and I shuffle the cards, I'm thinking about you. I'm trying to connect with your energy. And again, the cards that come out, I don't want to say it's not magic, right? Because in my mind, like everything is magic, right? I'm all the magic, right? But it's not a like my psychic abilities coming through and pulling these cards for you, right? It is that interconnected energy that we all have. And again, the reason why it's important for me to know what you are seeing and what you are being drawn to is because that is your intuition connecting to the energy of that card, regardless of what it is. I don't, anybody who's been watching for a while knows I don't normally do card party during the day. For me, this is daytime. I know you may be watching in other places and it's nighttime. But I just thought it would be nice, right? I'm starting to focus a bit more on just the tarot component of the work. And so I thought, why not do my Wednesday Woo, which is where you are right now? Why don't I add that to my card party? Like a beautiful little marriage of magic, right? So welcome to Card Party / WTF with Mel. If you're new here, I am Mel Morris, and we are going to pull some cards today. So I hope you're excited. I am going to put in the chat, I think, that if you'd like me to pull a card for you, I'm going to put there's like a little thing that you can put. If Janelle's watching, she can pop it in here for me. There's a little, in order for me to see your name, sometimes you gotta like let be live connect to your Facebook page. I don't know. But we'll see how it works. So what I want to do today is I'm going to tell you a little bit more about me in case you're new here. And then while I'm doing that, I want you to be thinking about some questions, right? What would you like some answers for? And I'll talk a little bit about how I do tarot that might be different than what you're used to as well. So let me start by saying that I told you I'm Mel Morris if you're new here, and I use tarot specifically as a tool to help connect people to their intuition. So what does that mean? That means that there are a lot of ways, whether you own a business, whether you're working for someone, whether you are a parent, whether you are just a human being on this planet who needs a little support in finding the answers for themselves. That's what connecting into your intuition is to me. Okay. So there are, 1,000 tools out there that you can use to help you do that. I certainly use many different types of tools, everything from meditation and mindfulness to the emotional guidance scale and several things to help connect to intuition, to help people connect to the answers that they already have for themselves, right? So my use of tarot, if you've ever had a tarot reading before, I'd love you to put like a 1 in the comments that yes, you've had a tarot reading before. I always like to know when people have had it and kind of what their experience is, because it isn't going to look like a regular tarot reading. So what does that mean for me and how I use tarot? So for me, it's less about what I see in the tarot cards and more about what you see, and more importantly, what you connect with. Hey, Brianna. So glad you could make it. I hope you thought of a question. So if you've ever had a tarot reading before, and I see that you have, there's a little link. Sometimes I can't see your name. So if you ask a question, and I can't see what your name is, I might ask you to go ahead and do that, or just to tell me what your name is. So if you've had a tarot reading before, it tends to look very fortune teller, future casting. It's the other person kind of looking at the cards based on whatever your question and circumstances, and telling you what they see for either your future or for the energy around you. Sorry, it's Chuck going by. What I do with tarot, again, for me, I feel like it's less important what I see and more important what you connect with, is that if you ask a question, I'm going to think about you, think about your question, make sure that we're asking a question that really goes to what you're looking for, right? Sometimes we ask very kind of, I'm not going to say generic questions, but not specific enough to what we really want to know. So I spend a lot of time with people helping to kind of formulate their questions, when I'm doing like one-on-ones with people. And then I have them look at the card, right? So anyone that asks a question today, we're going to go through this process. I'll make sure I'm clear really about what it is you want to check in on. And then I'm going to show you the card, and I'm going to ask you to take a look at the card, what you see, what you feel, images that come up for you, a feeling that comes up for you, right? And then we'll connect that back to whatever your question is, because those little things that you may not be able to consciously make a connection between are the pieces that are your intuition moving you towards the answer, right? I hope that makes sense. So I'm a big believer that we all have the answers to all of our questions already inside of us, but it can be really tricky to get them out in a very conscious way, because we're so used to our minds trying to think through and search for the answer, right? So let's see. So that is that. Okay, I don't see a question yet, so I'll just keep an eye out. I do have two questions that some folks sent me beforehand. And even though I just gave you this nice story about how I don't like to really, I don't prefer to do it where the person isn't there. Hey, Freddie, I'm glad you could pop on. Even though I just gave you this whole spiel about that, because they did ask a question, I am going to pull a card and just give some information about what I see, but I don't prefer to do it that way. So yes, Freddie, please ask a question. So before I answer their two questions that I have already, and maybe they'll join us, and so I will also try to hold out for just a sec to see if they join in. I also want to say that Freddie has an amazing week-long summit happening this week about creating or working on your side hustle. Right. So she's got amazing speakers throughout the week. And so I definitely suggest, and Freddie, you're more than welcome to pop your link into your summit page if you'd like to in here as well. But if you're thinking about growing your side hustle or a project on the side, there's some great advice over there. So Freddie, you can be as specific as you want to be. What I'll say for your questions for Freddie and anybody else is to take a minute and think about, again, what it is you really want to know. So let's say if we use the side hustle example, right? Sometimes it is a matter of, okay, I have this thing that I really like doing, and maybe I'm making a little bit of money on it. I want to grow that a little bit more. Is this project something that I should like go all in on and leave my job eventually with the goal of leaving my job? Or is this just like a side type of thing, right? So that may be the type of question, right, that I get from somebody. So underneath that, though, is a lot more, right? Underneath that is less about, should I pursue this? And likely more about this, this thing is important to me. And how do I find ways to remind myself of my own value as it comes to moving forward with this business that I really want to grow and love, right? That's, like one example. So when you're thinking about your question, as much as you can, and I'm happy to help, as much as you can, try to narrow that down, right? Ask yourself maybe a couple layers of question as to, okay, here's whatever I think my question is. What is it I'm really looking to get from that, right? So I'll also say that that throughout the process, again, of me, I said that I believe that, we all have our own answers to all of our questions. We all share a connected energy, right? I believe as well. And so when you ask me a question and I shuffle the cards, I'm thinking about you. I'm trying to connect with your energy. And again, the cards that come out, I don't want to say it's not magic, right? Because in my mind, like everything is magic, right? I'm all the magic, right? But it's not like my psychic abilities coming through and pulling these cards for you, right? It is that interconnected energy that we all have. And again, the reason why it's important for me to know what you are seeing and what you are being drawn to is because that is your intuition connecting to the energy of that card, regardless of what it is. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, so while I wait for Freddie's question, and again, anyone else can certainly ask, I am going to, and Freddie did put her information there in the link. Okay, I'm going to actually mute my mic for a second because it's really annoying to hear me shuffle. So just think a minute. Think about your question as I shuffle and answer one of the questions I got from earlier. Okay, so the question I got before, and I'll show you the card in just a moment. It's from a friend named Tracy. And Tracy, if you're here, you're welcome to pop in and kind of co-sign on this. But Tracy asked earlier about sort of related to side hustle. She has been growing her business. She's an entrepreneur. And so she has been growing her business. It's something she's been working on for about 2 years at this point. And she feels like she really hasn't gotten traction yet in her business. And, she's investing in it. She's working with folks. And so, she wanted to know, again, started with like, is this a thing I should continue pursuing? We got down to the question of what is really going to help me to move this vision forward. Okay. And so I am going to be super fancy and show you my other camera. Give me 1 second. Shabam. Okay. So you should be able to see this other card. I maybe can zoom in a smidge. Let's see. Here we go. Okay, so I see that I do have a couple of questions, so I will go more into detail when I answer for y'all. But what I want you to do is think about, let me make sure I can get this zoom going. All right, there we go. Okay, so what I see based on, again, my kind of connection, talking with Tracy earlier, is the very clear message here is something that I've also had to learn recently, and that is to focus more on co-creation, right? So the Three of Cups, cups is about our emotions. It's that beautiful, like flowy water energy. And when I think about water, I think about it in terms of both cleansing and purifying, as well as moving you into a new space, a new place, right? So that's kind of what cups energy is. And then, the three in this Three of Cups here is about, it's about teams, it's about groups, it's about community, right? And so in relation to her question and her situation, again, without her being here to tell me what things are kind of jumping out at her, the general message of this card in relation to that question is definitely, definitely, definitely focus more on trying to do everything yourself, right? You don't have to do shit all by yourself. Find other people, find people in groups, depending on how you're thinking about growing your business, getting other people to come in and either support you, work with you, do events or groups with you, right? Think about, again, I guess the big message would be like, stop trying to do shit on your own, right? And it's okay to ask for help. And once you do that, it might feel a little weird at first, right? I mean, for me, when I look at this card, the thing that really jumped out was like the person all the way to the left kind of looks like a guy like, oh no, I'm falling back into the water. Gave me this feeling of like, it's gonna feel kind of uncomfortable at first to do that. Maybe you're not really used to getting help, doing that kind of co-creation. But at the end, it's going to make all the difference in the world. So I haven't seen you pop in here, Tracy, but let me know later on if that makes sense for you. I hope that helps. I'm happy to talk a little bit more about that as well. All right, so let me switch here. Okay, so that's kind of what it looks like super briefly. Again, Tracy's not here, so I can't have her participate as much. So, all right, let me move on to Brianna. Okay, how do I walk in wisdom? I'm gonna pop this over here. Oh, look at that, and look at that beautiful face. How do I walk in wisdom in my relationship, but also follow my heart? Yeah, this is a great question. And before I shuffle, I just want to say to you that, part of it is obviously, you feeling vulnerable, I think is something that really comes up for me. And the challenge of allowing yourself to have some vulnerability, especially if you have overcome a lot of bullshit, right? And so, what I'm kind of drawn to in your question is kind of a dance between having strong emotion and feeling, and also having this like little bit of wall maybe that's up because of past experience, right? And so when I shuffle, and let me know certainly, Brianna, if this makes sense for you, as I think about your question, when I shuffle, and I'm just kind of reading it over and over again, is this idea about intuition, right? It is this like, the answers, right? Whatever's happening in your relationship or how you're feeling about it, or, its beginning, its middle, its end, wherever it is, trusting your intuition is something that I'm going to kind of think about as I shuffle. How will you know that you're really trusting your intuition as it relates to this relationship? So let me know if that makes sense, if that's helpful to think about while I'm shuffling. And I mean, I'm going to shuffle, so let me know. I'm going to go ahead and mute my mic again so you don't have to hear all the shuffle, and just really think about that. Think about that. And if anyone else has a question, go ahead and pop it in. Okay, so you can hear this piece of the shuffling. It's the bridge part that's noisy. Okay, so I am gonna take your question off. Okay. I'm gonna switch this camera angle over. And Brianna, what before I know there's a slight delay from when you see it and when I'm talking. So what I want you to do is I want you to, and I'm going to switch over and have you look at it. I'm going to switch so you can just see the card. Okay. And, tell me, type in the chat, the first thing that you notice. So I want you to tell me, what jumps out at you, whether it's an image, whether it's a feeling, whether it's a color, whatever it is that's jumping out at you. I want you to just type in the chat, type in as much as you want to. Um, Tell me what you're thinking. Tell me how this feels for you. So as I shuffled and as I wait for Brianna to give me some feedback, and I'll go into a bit more detail. Again, my focus on this question really was how can you really how can you how can you make sure that you really are trusting your intuition um, as it relates to this relationship? Okay, so I see it's like she's protecting herself from pain. Okay, so tell me less about the story, right? Because our minds always want to make up a story. And I'll switch over because I know it's kind of weird with the delay. Okay, so I know our minds want to tell us a story, and that is our ego mind, right? Trying to figure shit out. What I want you to do, if you can, is think now back. What's the first thing you noticed, right? Was it a piece of an image? Was it a color? Was it a feeling that you got? Try to tell me those pieces. Don't worry about the story. We'll talk about the story of the card, but I want you to think about just the individual components that jumped out at you as soon as you looked at it. If you can tell me those things. Because yes, Brianna, what happens, and for everyone watching, what happens again, our thinking mind wants to give us a solution, wants to say, and that's a perfect example, like, oh, well, she's protecting herself. She's, in this state of protection. Okay. You notice the sticks. Great. Okay. And I know it's much harder to do this with a delay. Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about the cards, and Brianna, if there's anything else that really like stood out to you, even as you saw the sticks, what you thought about that, what it felt like, what you noticed about the sticks. Again, put in as much as you want to. So this is the Nine of Wands. So wands are all about the actions that we take, right? Taking action. It's fire energy. It's moving things forward, right? So we talked about, water in the first card, water being kind of this, in my mind, is kind of this, fluid. It focuses on emotion specifically. The suit of wands, again, is focused much more on action, right? And taking action. It's not about how you feel about what's happening. It's about what am I doing about it? How am I moving this forward, right? So, okay, I don't see anything yet from Brianna. Back. Okay, so the nine specifically are close to completion. I mean, in a lot of ways, is completion. Is like I'm ending this cycle of something, and then tens would be like wiping your hands of it so that you can move on to something else. Okay, hope that makes sense. So together, right, out of context of what Brianna saw, the Nine of Wands is a card of, I often think of it as getting to a point where you have been just like working yourself to the bone. You have been doing just so much. And you almost get to this place of mania, right? Of like, my gosh, like, what else can I do? Right. I'm like frantic at this point that I've just been doing so much in order to come to some resolution. Right. And so the last thing I saw from you, Brianna, was that you noticed the sticks first, and I'll pop your card back up. Let's see. There we go. So I noticed that you said that you noticed the sticks, and I gave a little description about the card itself. But yes, I would like for you to tell me again. Oh, okay. All right. So you didn't hear most of it. All right. Perfect. I was just talking to myself. Yay. It happens all the time. Okay. So while I talk about the card specifically, out of context to you, if you could tell me, I know you mentioned that you noticed the wands, the sticks. If you could tell me, again, I'm worried less about the story and more about what you noticed about the wands, whether it was a feeling that you got or the position, whatever it was. Try to give me those details that jumped out at you early on. Okay. And I will talk a little bit about the card while you put that in the chat. Okay, so wands are about action, taking action, moving forward, right? We saw water before. Water is about our emotions. It's the suit of our emotions and how we're feeling about things, right? It's that kind of fluid. I think of like that fluid, gushy kind of feeling, right? Here we've got wands. Wands is the energy of fire. It's the energy of action and moving things forward. So it's less about how we feel about situations, more about what we're doing in those situations, if that makes sense, right? So that's the suit of wands in general. Nines are kind of ending things, just in general, ending situations, things coming to an end, because then the tens are, like final completion, like this is for real over now, and I'm closing down whatever in order to move to the next thing, right? Because we're always starting something new. Um, so this card, again, unrelated specifically to you, Brianna, is about, I get the feeling of, even though it looks kind of like a scary card, it looks like she's either like fearful or, the word that popped in my head is kind of like manic, like what's going on? I find that this card has a lot more to do with, our conscious mind telling us that something is wrong. I need to be scared of everything. Like I've been doing so many things that, I need to like take control of the situation because like something's happening that I don't have any control over. Right. But in reality, I think it's more about that you've been working so hard on whatever this issue is, whatever your concerns are, that you've been doing that for so long that your mind feels kind of crazy. Like, can I even believe it anymore? I've gone back and forth about this so many times. Does it even make any sense? Right? So, okay. You said the feeling I first got was the feeling of security. Okay. So that's great. Right. And so having these kind of, I would say like actionable walls around her, right? If that makes sense, makes you feel like, yes, she's protecting herself. She's in this space where, I have these wands set up and so I'm good, right? Um, which is beautiful for you, right? Because again, your question was about, trusting yourself, trusting your intuition, trusting that you are making the best choices for yourself and for yourself within a relationship, right? And so for you to have that feeling, again, it's not about what I think or feel or whatever. It's about what you see, because that's your intuition looking at this card and saying, I get this sense of security from what I'm seeing here, right? This security of having these wands up. She's ready, like she's ready for whatever happens. And for you, that is a space of, yes, I have put things in place so that I am ready for anything, right? And so I want you to think about that feeling that you got anytime this question comes up for you, am I just making this up? Am I making the best choice for myself? And I want you to think about the feeling of this card that you got, that feeling of security, that feeling of knowing that you have put so many things in place, that you are ready, that you don't have to stay on high alert. You don't have to protect yourself from everything that's happening, especially as it relates to your relationship, right? Let me know if that makes sense. So for a while now, I've been moving from doing and just being. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So like I said, this, 9 is the ending, right? It's like the ending of a thing, ending of doing, right? Which is the action of the wands, so that you can start to move into the space of enjoying all the things that you've done, right? We often spend so much time just like we're busy being busy that we don't have time to live. We don't have time to appreciate what we've already gone through and what we've already experienced, and put what we've learned into place, right? So, for me, as far as an answer goes, I'm going to say that yes, your intuition here is telling you that you're good. You've put in the work, you've prepared yourself, you've armed yourself as much as you need to, so that now you can trust yourself. You can trust when you're getting these little gut feelings that, yes, I know I can listen to that. I know that this isn't about me like being codependent in this relationship. This is about, yes, this action is best for me. And fortunately, it's also good for my relationship. So I hope that was helpful for you. Awesome. And hopefully my internet will continue to play nicely till we're finished here. Okay, so yay, I'm glad that resonates for you, Brianna. Okay, so Freddie, let's see. Okay. Freddie, look at that beautiful picture of you. I love that picture. Reminds me of like I'm down to business, like I'm getting shit done. I love that picture of you. So, okay, question. Is now the time? Oh, you're so welcome, Brianna. I'm glad that you could pop in here today. I love it. Is now the time to quit my contract role? Okay. So for me, I'm thinking of Coffee in London. Oh, I love it. For me, when I think about this question, as it relates to you and moving forward, and again, thinking about like, what do you really want to know here? Is now the time to quit my contract role? I feel like this has more to do with your level of confidence. Again, this might be kind of the theme for the day, but your level of confidence in your own abilities, right? Like, you're amazing, you're incredible, your shit, right? You are, a strong woman, you're a mama, you are juggling a million things in your life. And I get this feeling that as much as this question is about quitting your contract role, that it really is more about, again, like, how do I kind of like for Brianna, how do I trust my intuition about like when it's time to let go of shit, right? That's no longer serving me, because that's the hardest question, right? Especially for you when it comes to, this whole idea of the side hustle. Many of us who are branching off and creating something new, or following a passion, especially in our minds, we're telling ourselves, we're lying to ourselves and saying that, it's all about well, this isn't like a real job, right? I can't like do this for a living. This is just a thing I like to do. And those two things are not mutually exclusive, right? So as I think about your question, and I'm going to shuffle, I'm going to turn my mic off for just a second. I'm going to be thinking more about the confidence that you have. How do you recognize? How do you strengthen or bolster or recognize when your intuition is pushing you towards that confidence, that like reminder, like, how will I know? What's it going to feel like, right? When I'm done with the shit I don't want to do anymore. Hope that makes sense. Let me know. I'm going to mute for just a second. Oh, sorry, I know you can hear the shuffle part if you like. Okay. Okay. So I know there's a little delay. So what I'm gonna switch over to the card. I want you to think about, let me put your message down so that's not in the way. But I'm gonna want you to look at the card. I want you to tell me what jumps out at you, whether it's images within the card, whether it is a feeling of the card, whether it's colors, any little detail. What's jumping out at you right away? So much about financial security would always go back. Yeah. Yeah, and so as you're, putting in the chat the things that are jumping out to you, absolutely, right? I mean, yes, I understand the idea of financial security, and I mean, you got to make money, right? I'm never going to tell you like, oh, just give it up, right, and just walk away and don't have a plan and just freewheel it. Um, and yeah, I'm going to pause for a second and say, also, Freddie, like I told Brianna, I want you to focus less on the story that your mind is creating about this, right? And tell me, like, again, what's jumping out at you. So maybe what you said is this idea of, it feels like relaxing. It feels slower, right? I don't want you to allow your thinking brain to create a story for you. I want you to try to think about like the first thing that popped it out at you, right? So maybe it is, his hands folded in his lap, or, the solitude of where he is, or, right? I don't want to influence what you're going to say, but focus less on the story that your mind wants to give you and the details, right? Or the feeling that you got. So, but back to the financial security versus the confidence piece, while you type that in, and I'll put myself back up here, is thinking about when you have confidence, right? When you have confidence in yourself and faith in your abilities, right? Like, I'm incredible, and what I'm doing, I have so much love for and passion for, and I've already been doing it for a little while, and it's starting to grow, and it's starting to, I don't want to say pay off for me, but I can see the future of that. When you focus on that confidence, then that's the thing that's going to move you to continue to grow and do more, right? The money's going to come when your passion is focused in whatever direction it is, right? So the more you can focus on that confidence, absolutely, that's the thing. That's the money maker, right? So let's see. Okay, slowing down, looking inside. Yep, taking a break. Yes. Peace and quiet. Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, so we're back to cups, right? So cups is about your emotion. So it's not about the actions that you're taking, even though it is related to, well, hello there, Alexian. Welcome, welcome. Feel free to ask a card if you'd like. ask a question if you'd like. So, again, kind of like what we talked about with Brianna, even though her card was an action card, right? And you are focused, Freddie, very much on this, going, going, going. I mean, you're in the midst of a summit right now, so I know you're super busy. But Cups is about the emotion of what's happening for you, right? And fours are about stability, finding that stability, right? Combined with emotion, that stability in emotion, right? So I would imagine that your emotions have been all over the place with this launch, right? And with a new baby and with life, right? Life inside of COVID has brought so many challenges, right? And so when you think about transitioning out of doing contract work or what you were doing before, I'm sure that the emotion of your situation is a bit frenzied, right? And so, yes, to your point, this card, right? What you felt from this card, again, is your intuition moving you towards this answer, right? This answer is sit down for a second, right? Allow yourself to sit down for just a second, right? And I'm sorry, Alexian. Oh, thanks for popping in. And actually, I can see your name, so you don't have to allow anything. We may have already done this before, Freddie, but allowing yourself to sit and reflect on what you want to do, how you want to move forward, right? When this summit is over in a couple of days, some of that pressure, right, naturally will kind of go away. But taking the time to sit and, if we go back to this idea of your confidence, sitting back and saying, like, damn, look what I created, right? Regardless of the numbers I get from a business perspective, whatever with the numbers, regardless of the numbers, look what I created, right? Look what I brought into the world. Look at the amazing people from the interviews that you did that were able to come in and share, right? Look at all these things that I've been able to do and bring to the world, right? Is that something, right? Appreciating what you've been able to create and bring to the world and birth to the world. I'm thinking about your little baby too, like you created a whole person, right? Think about that as you sit and reflect on this question of contract work, no longer contract work. Does that contract work fit into what I'm amazing at and what I want to focus on moving forward? Right? You don't have to quit one in order to continue the other, right? You've already been doing some balancing. I totally get that. But when you have that confidence of knowing, like, I'm freaking amazing and I can do this, then that part of you will sit real, like, will find that stability in your emotion and just say, okay, yeah, now's the time. Now's the time to do it. When you're able to sit and really listen to yourself, you'll be able to hear that answer that, yes, this is the time. Or, you know what? Now is not the time, but it's okay because we've got all these systems in place now. We know how to balance the two things out, right? It's okay if I'm still doing both things for a while. Maybe I'm going to do less of this and more of that, right? Whichever side that is, it has less to do with you leaving your contract work and more about you finding that calm confidence that's going to really push you towards the piece that you really want to do, right? So let me know if that makes sense. I hope that was helpful. And I will move back to just me. Okay, let's see. Yep. Okay, wonderful. Okay, yeah, so I hope that helped. I didn't see any other questions here. It does, and yeah, okay, wonderful, wonderful, Freddie, and you know how to find me too if you've got any other questions. I mean, all of you can find me everywhere, WTF with Mel. I just happen to also see Freddie once a week, twice a week sometimes, so um, I'm glad that that was helpful. And so I did have one other question from my friend Meg, who I will quickly pull a card. Meg, if you're here, you can pop into the chat and let me know. If anyone else is here and have a question, I'm happy to stay on and answer it. Again, I apologize that Facebook didn't want me to stay magical in that other space, but I guess this is where we needed to be. So, um, okay, so I'm gonna mute for just a second so that I can think about Meg's question. Okay, I'm back. Meg's question also kind of comes down to this idea of confidence and listening. And so I will show her card briefly as well. So Meg initially asked me more specifically about her relationship and it not it not being great a lot of the time, and kind of this fallback to um, not should I stay or should I go? That certainly comes up, but this fallback of but what about the good times, right? And how will I know when it's really time to go? And so I'll show you all briefly. I don't see you in here, Meg, so I'll do this. I'll do this piece without you. So Meg at the Knight of Pentacles. Now, I love this particular card, and I'll just say briefly because Meg's not here, and I will try to talk to you after this. But Pentacles. So we saw Cups, which is all about our emotions. We saw Wands, which is all about taking action. Pentacles specifically are about like tangible things, right? So it can be things like money, things like anything you can kind of put your hands on, right? It often has to do with money. Sometimes this suit is called the suit of coins, but it's also kind of about the earthly things. So I think about like home and comfort and things like that. And then the knights, we haven't seen a court card yet, but the knights are, if you think of, old school knight in shining armor, they're the folks who want to come in and like save the day, right? And so when you put those two pieces together, the Knight of Pentacles, right, is about this card, especially for me, I feel like is becoming your own savior, right? Becoming the person that you'd want to come in and save the day, right? And so when it comes to relationships that especially when you're in a space where I maybe have let this go on for too long, but there's so many pieces mixed in and so on and so forth that I get this feeling like someone else isn't going to come in and fix it for you, right? You have to be the person who is going to suit up and show up and be your own savior, right? And be the person who decides that, you know what, if I'm in a space now that this is no longer serving me, that it's okay to let it go. It's okay to let it go because there's so much more in life that you need to be doing right now, right? And so, again, Meg, you can tell me, when you see this later on, the things that kind of jumped out to you here. But for me, especially, what I love about this card is like, she's like a badass. Like, I'm here, I'm showing up. I've got all the stuff, right? I'm here to scope things out and make sure everybody's okay, right? And so that's really what I get from this Knight of Pentacles, especially, again, as it relates to yay or nay with this relationship, right? And so, yeah, nobody else is going to come in and save you. You got to do that shit yourself, right? So let me know if that makes sense for you. Okay, so I don't see any other questions. I'm going to switch over here. I am going to put this out. So I also wanted to make sure that if you haven't worked with me before, that I have this kind of new fun giveaway here. And there's a link that, hey, boo. There's a link that should have magically appeared in the chat right now for 2 Minute Tarot. And so it's a new offering that I have so that, this is actually sort of what 2 Minute Tarot looks like, right? So you ask a question and I will send you back a video reply. That's about 2 minutes long. And there's no strings attached. You're welcome to love it and say, oh my gosh, that was amazing. I want to do a one-on-one with you, and there'll be a link to do that. You're welcome to do that. But if you're like, oh my gosh, that was amazing, but that's good. That's all I need right now. Totally cool too, right? So feel free to follow this link. It'll be in here whenever. Thank you, boo. Tell me I look gorgeous. Thank you. Have my face on today. So go to 2 Minute Tarot, ask a question, have me pull a card, tell your friends about it. I thank you so much for finding me once we got lost. Thanks for hanging out today. Again, you all, every Wednesday I'm here. Next week I'm actually on vacation, but I'm still going to be here doing a live with you. I'll just be at the beach. So I hope you join me then. Thank you so, so much for being here today. I love y'all and stay magical.